Hi, good afternoon. Uh, Now we begin the second panel for the day. Again, it's technology and how it's empowering the marginalized voices. The first panel focused on women and their concerns. The second one looks at other marginalized voices. The queer community. We are also looking at intersectionality in terms of caste, disability. So these, of course, are voices which are really important and they are emerging at the moment. The digital assertion has been a part of, an important, crucial part of the struggle of the marginalized voices. So their identity, their assertion of their identity, it, from very early on, even before the digital platform, the assertion of identity has played a very important role. What the digital platform has done is perhaps it's given it a boost. There's anonymity, identity concerns, where it allows people to, who may not be very comfortable with their identities out there, to share their views, to bring up their concerns, to create a sense of community, more importantly. To discuss these, of course, I mean, there are concerns, there are pitfalls as well. There's a digital footprint that one can, I don't think, I mean, one can erase, right? And then, of course, the trolling and the abuse. Today's second panel will look at all of these concerns. And I know it's the graveyard shift, post-lunch, but we have panelists who will make sure that this is an exciting afternoon. So I'll call upon our panelists, Rafiul. So Rafiul founded the Queer Muslim Project in 2017. And it's the only organization that looks at intersectionality between Islamic religious identity and the queer. His work spans more than 7 years in the field, and he focuses on intersectional youth advocacy and also grassroots mobilization. Then we have Asha Kowtal with us. Her experience, I mean, she has more than 15 years of experience in mobilizing Dalit women and addressing their concerns. A lot of offline work behind her, and recently a lot of digital presence as well. So she has been one of the people behind conceptualizing the Dalit Women's Self-Respect Yatra, Dalit Women Fight, and the Dalit History Month as well. And now we have Divya Dureja. Well, a poet, psychiatrist, and also a creative strategies consultant. So multiple roles and multiple goals. Feminism, queer identity, sexuality, power, and autonomy. Well, in its various permutations and combinations sometimes, yeah. So she's also the co-founder of Performers Consortium, co-founded in 2016. Right. And her focus is on creating safe spaces for the community, the digital community, I mean, to begin with, and then how she links that with offline safe spaces. So that's Divya's work. And we have Ravichandran, the founder of Dalit Camera, which has done phenomenal work. I mean, we'll remember a lot of their work during the Rohit Vemula protests. Currently, he claims to have retired from activism. But, well, post his doctorate, he's currently working on 2 books. One of his key areas of concerns is manual scavenging. One of his books focuses on that. Another very interesting project that he's working on is how he links caste, or how architecture and caste can be connected and linked. But yeah, he has had an interesting digital journey, and we welcome them all. Sorry, I think I forgot to introduce myself. I work with the Indian Express, and my name is Dipti Nagpaul. So let's begin this afternoon with talking about your relationship with the digital medium within your work, within your field, and how you feel it may have allowed yourselves to define your identities, perhaps. If we can begin with Asha. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Dipti, for those kind words of introduction. I'm really happy to be here. I was just looking at the panel, the one before us, which talked about empowerment of women, but here I am again, a woman, but in the second panel, because I guess this panel is focusing on intersectionality. And I think for oppressed community women, especially for women from my community, we are really trying to break what is the so-called mainstream and actually bring our voices in the center of activism, of feminism, or whatever that we may call it, whatever those voices for justice are really. But I have 5 to 7 minutes and I have so many things to say. So I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes to give a little bit of context to the Dalit movement itself, a very rich and vibrant history of resilience that we have had, because of which today we are where we are, whether it is the All India Dalit Mahila Adhikari Manch that I represent, or any of my other activist friends and colleagues here and outside this room as well. And I think the movement has in the past used various different kind of media for organizing, for educating, for agitating, and for bringing our community together. We have number of printing presses, both small and big, across India and across the world, that have actually kept our history alive. It's because of that today we know about Dr. Ambedkar, we know about Jyotiba, we know about Savitribai Phule and their contribution. Otherwise, the mainstream so-called curriculum that we have would never allow us to even learn that. So I think recognizing that legacy of the artists, the writers, the poets, you know, the theater artists, the songs, and everything else which kept our history alive before the advent of digital media or social media. And I think for me it's really important to recognize all of that resilient history that we are actually so proud of, and we stand here because of that. But my experience of working with the All India Dalit Mahila Adhikari Manch, which works across 7 different states here in North India, a lot of work happening on the ground, organizing the community, with of course a focus on looking at caste atrocities, particularly on women, monitoring violence and survivor support, and trying to access justice in a system that is almost designed to fail us. Nothing is really working. Everything is working against us, but yet survivors, families and activists are really trying to hit hard at the system to bring some hope of justice. In all of that, our work brought us to Facebook to start with, and Twitter, like ye kya cheez hai, like we should also learn this. And so that's how the little group of us, about 20 of us, we got in together, and we said one day we sat on a whiteboard and we don't know what is a hashtag, and we started writing. Also, you need to understand that all of us are either first or second generation learners. So this whole, we had to understand where our barriers actually started with accessing technology, accessing a smartphone, accessing language, English, to create an ID password also to begin with. So I think like we had to go step by step in that, and then we decided that because couple of things, like how the regular media had portrayed all of us in a, whenever I think of Dalit women, the images that come are stripped naked, paraded naked, assaulted and raped and thrown and killed. So we said that like all of our work has to build a powerful alternative narrative to that. Yes, that has been our reality, but we are fighting we are actually challenging, we are resisting all of this. And I think that's why we chose to have it as Dalit Women Fight online. And also so that it keeps with our offline work of the campaign on the ground. And that's the reason why we started doing that. And also in the meantime, a few of our other friends and colleagues together thought about Dalit History Month. I can talk about it later, maybe in the second part. But really, again, to bring out this not just forgotten stories of the past, which were actually purposefully distorted and contorted and taught to us or not taught to us. And we felt that was very important. And actually, Dalit women collectives led that, which got a lot of traction worldwide. And that has been not just an educative collective project, but something that has been very close to all of our hearts. Yes, we did like lots of small training, social media training, कैसे आप Facebook पे upload करोगे, क्या caption डालना है, किसको tag करना है, किसको नहीं. Then that of course led us to what do we deal with how do we deal with the trolling, किसको ignore करना है, which ones should we engage, not engage. Then also it also especially because a lot of our work was to do with dealing with violence, we also came across how technology actually also made us so vulnerable as Dalit women activists. Also where we had dealt with many of the cases of violence where that act of sexual abuse was filmed and then shared within the villages, and they actually bought those tapes, and so and then actually that put the survivor at so much more risk after that happened. So that is also something that we were learning as we were going. We did not have a roadmap. We still do not have one. But we're just learning every day and, you know, really moving forward. But I feel, to end my 5 minutes now, for me personally and also for many of my friends and colleagues, we really found each other. No, across the world, we identified each other. We found who are our other sisters, who are our other brothers, and where are our people. Those of us, limited number, who had access to social media, and that really helped me, and also helped many of us to, you know, define our identities and sharpen our politics also, no, to discuss and with each other, and things that we could not share anywhere, we were able to do that because of meeting each other online, and that has been really, really very, very useful for me.
I think you raise an important point, and I'm sure Rafiul will agree, because I think your entire project is focused on finding or creating that kind of a community where we are talking of, well, you know, Islamic religious identity and that with the queer identity. I mean, the two are rarely come together in the mainstream or I mean, leave alone being accepted. So a lot of your work is about finding those people across the world then?
Hi, everyone. I think it's also an assumption that they cannot coexist. So, and to a great extent, we are trying to break that. But before I talk about my work, I want to share a small personal anecdote. So in 2016, I had applied for a passport because I had to write GRE and I was going for a PhD to the US. I was all excited, everything happened, and then the cop came to my door to verify my address details. And my landlord, it's in the same house I'd been there for like more than 3 years. Who had, when I had applied for in my passport application, he agreed to be my local witness. But when the cop came and wanted to verify, my landlord just backed off, and he's like, I don't know, I'm not part of this. And it put me on the spot, because I was like, this is so important for me, and you know, and you hadn't, this is almost like betrayal, because you hadn't informed me earlier, others I could have reached out to some other people. And I just had a little fight, almost like, you know, verbal sort of a thing with my landlord, and the cop, he was angry, he's like, Kal police chowki mein aa jana, and he left. So I had to, of course, figure out a local witness and call a friend who is a lawyer, and I was like, please help me how to get out of this. And the next morning, so I found someone in the area who's known me for quite some time, and he's like, "Koi baat nahi, we'll do this." So I go to the police chowki and with my friend, and I take a letter from the local witness and all of that. And then I had forgotten to get one of the documents photocopied. So I had to take a little break, go and get it photocopied, and I come back, and this stout policeman suddenly starts talking very sweetly to me. He's like, "आप कौन से like आप क्या करते हैं? आपको sports पसंद है?" And questions like that, and I was taken aback because I was like, this is the same person who was like before some time. He was like this very rude, stout policeman, right? But something happened. So I was like, "ठीक है." I responded. We signed the papers and left. And then on the way, my friend told me, what happened when you went for the photocopy. And this guy had actually asked me, कि क्या ये वैसा है? And I said, "So what was your response?" He said, "I didn't say anything. I just nodded yes." So, and it led me to a very, very interesting realization that while my Muslim identity is a threat, my queer identity is not that much of a threat. It can actually diffuse that threat. Because agar ye chakka hai, to ye kya hi karega? Right? This is the understanding. And apparently the policeman had said that अरे हाँ कुछ लोग ऐसे होते हैं, भगवान ने ऐसा बनाया, इनके तो जीन में कुछ डिफेक्ट होता है. So this is just my personal experience with these identities, and over time I've come to realize that there are so many more assumptions and stereotypes out there that you are trying to fight every day, to the point that it can lead you to a mental breakdown. Somewhere with the Queer Muslim Project, I think my journey began in search of some of these narratives, and I very much agree with Asha. I think in finding those voices that are not either this or that, right? Because there is this assumption that you cannot be gay and Muslim. But I have known so many people. My own experience has been very complicated, both with faith and in queer spaces. So with the Queer Muslim Project, I started the Queer Muslim Project in March 2017 as an online platform because I felt that in the Western context, a lot of interesting conversation was happening around faith, like looking at feminist interpretations of faith and sexuality, but somehow that was not as popular, I would say, in the South Asian context, and a lot of people didn't even have that information. So when I was in the US briefly, I had gone for a PhD, and of course later I discontinued and came back. I was part of some of these initiatives, and I remember attending this beautiful interfaith gathering at a church in Austin, where there were people from different faiths, LGBTQ people who came, and it was a very emotionally charged movement, because a lot of people were talking about how in many ways exclusion is not only in our faith-based communities. So if I am a Muslim, I don't only feel excluded in the Muslim community where there is this understanding that, Islam this is un-Islamic, but also in queer spaces where there is this burden of being liberal in a way that you have to completely denounce your faith. And what that does is that in the context of India today, we know that Muslims as a religious minority have been going through a very bad time. And I don't want to hesitate to say that. And so any conversation around Muslim minority rights is seen as too political, too sensitive. Why are you ruining the atmosphere? Party mein raho, why to talk about these things, right? So I think somewhere it's been like my work online is very much informed by my personal struggles. And online what we do is, like, if you look at our Instagram, somewhere we are trying to get more of this narrative. Somewhere we're not just saying we exist. We say we exist and this is how we exist. So if you look at our Instagram feed, we actually have, it's quite a global, I would say, movement right now. And I'm very happy to say that. So we publish narratives from across the world. And from young people, like say in Baghdad, I remember this 16-year-old girl from Baghdad, she sent me a narrative. We ran a campaign called 2019 Queer Muslim Goals in January. And she sends me her photograph and a narrative, and she's like, publish this. I was like, where are you from? She's like, I'm from Baghdad. I was like, that. She's like, my family would not do anything. But I said that, this is not only about your family. The internet is not a safe place because somebody can take a screenshot and this could lead to a lot of problems. And she was very insistent. She was like, but I want to be a part of this project. I said, you will be a part of this project, but let's do one thing. Send me a photograph where your face is not visible. and we will change your name, and still the narrative can go. So I think those little tweaks, and I mean, I'll just stop there, and I'll talk more about this later. But I mean, that's how we have been, like on the, like digitally, we've been trying to do that, build more of this alternative narratives. Yeah.
Well, your journey has been an interesting one, and your relationship with the digital platform, I think, started very early when you were a student. You saw that as an opportunity to Dalit camera. I think came into being when you realized that videos were a powerful medium of communicating issues, because perhaps voices were not being heard.
Hi, good afternoon, and thanks for Indian Express and especially you and others who made me available here today. So yeah, if I have to talk about that, actually, it Dalit camera. I was to be put it frank, Dalit camera is not my name at all. So Dalit camera is a collective effort, and it did not start like I will start archiving. I will upload videos. I will viewership. No, viewership was never a thought for us, because we started I started that in 2008. Basically, I started with frustration from newspapers like even Indian Express and Hindu, and NDTV and Times Now was not then there. So I was frustrated seeing this news. They would remember caste only when reservation comes, and they would portray us with the shabby clothes and violent people. And whenever there is a violence, they would say that they would not say it is a caste violence, it would say violence. So I was very frustrated, and it was an anger. So then what happened is that time Gaddar and Kancha Ailaya were protesting in Hyderabad, and I went to the protest. So by the time itself in campus, there were a lot of other activities I was engaged in, and ABVP was not very happy with my activism. So I was brutally attacked by them. And so I found ABVP as an ideology. I was feeling it. It is not only a membership organization like particular members have. Many people have that, including Dalits. So I found that is an ideology which is spread. The roots are among the different organizations it is there. So I found it, so my students' activism was about Dalits discrimination and general students' discrimination. I used to address that. And when I was attacked, many people, they used the Telangana as a guard, that you spoke against Telangana. So what happened is after that, I realized that so much work I did for the students, so much I did, that is sure. You can go to English and Foreign Languages University, I think all bricks from the entrance to the end, even the toilets would talk about my name actually. So that much of work I did there. But when I was attacked, there were nobody there. So I found that why do I have to spend my energy for people who are already in a good situation? For them, living is not a problem. Food is there, protest, everything is there. So why do I have to waste? So it is that time there was a Dalit woman who was attacked on the ground in Tamil Nadu, Dalit Panchayat president. So when she was attacked, she got awarded as a best Panchayat president from the president. And then she was brutally attacked for her work, and nobody was covering that. So I really felt selfish that I put myself there. So I thought, okay, let me at least do the role which many people fail to do on me. So I went there, I took her video. And I took a video not for something, I thought I should be archived. Because my history, my engagement in the campus is gone, it is erased. So this is what Gaddar used to say in the left movement. He used to say one of the strongest criticism on the left Maoist movement, he would say, that you erased our history. Where is our history? So that history, our role, our sacrifice, even when you take the Keelvenmani massacre of Devendra Kulavelalas in Tamil Nadu, they were burnt. And left movement grew in Tamil Nadu with the blood of Dalits. But the history doesn't say in the left that Dalits spread the blood. I would say that that red color flag in the left movement is a Dalit's blood. It is nobody's else blood. And the leadership was always the Brahmins and the others. I don't reject their role. I agree with certain things, and I also salute for the left movement, because I don't see left movement as part of one particular group. So what happened is when this Kancha Alaya all were protesting, there were nobody to record it. Even there was no press. But when Gaddar once, he used to give a press statement, there will be many people coming. But when Gaddar used to speak about caste, there were hardly media over there. So what I did is I took this camera, I just had this 5,000 rupees, very still camera. And I took a video and I uploaded. So I found a lot of people coming and going. Then I started, only 100 people then. So even 200 people getting hit was a big thing for me then. But that was not my primary, but I thought of archiving these things because I found archive is something Dalit's movement is missing. So I started archiving, and that is how then one of the faculties in Delhi University, Dr. Hani Babu, said that you are archiving, but we don't know where you're archiving. So why don't you keep a name? So we said, we kept that untouchable IE, Dalit camera, Dalit IE and all. Then Sudarshan, Usmania University student, he suggested let it be Dalit camera. So this Dalit camera emerged, and then there were collective students coming forward and working. So for the last 4 or 5 years, I have been not working. I think it played a very crucial role in Jignesh Mevani's uprising, and also in Rohit Vemla's movement. I don't say it is a great thing because any movement suffering, portraying is not a great thing. But I would say that it went with the journey. So in total, I would say online space is a weird space for us, actually, especially for me. For example, 8 years before, I didn't even know what caste is. I remember still fresh that Asha Kowtal Akka would be sitting. I called her and I want your interview. So I went there. I was asking her, Akka, I have so much doubt. You should tell me. So she was so generous to explain me on the camera and off the camera. So then I took the video and I uploaded. And that's how I also grew my academics or understanding on caste. And after 8 years, I'm sitting next to Asha Kowtal Akka, whom I didn't do any protest, nothing else I did, but everything she has been doing. Actually, her organization had a major contribution in many women carrying cameras, like many in these movements. I think historically she did. So sitting next to her is, I don't think it is a honor for me, but certainly I don't think for the movement the way it goes. So I find it's a weird space to be for us. So you see all of them in a different period when we start our life and we come and sit in this space. So that's how I would talk about Dalit camera.
And Divya, your work has been really interesting and it spans several interests and several concerns, issues. You're also multidisciplinary. So as a mental health professional and also as a poet, if you could talk about your relationship with the medium then.
Thanks for having me on this panel, and it's been great to hear about everyone's journey. I'm a 90s kid. I grew up with certain privileges of having access to phone. Earlier, I was given only to make calls after practice, but slowly I adapted to the technology as and when Facebook rolled out, Instagram rolled out. A part of me felt, so I had to learn how to navigate how much to share, how much to not share. And as I struggled with my own identity of being queer, there came a moment where I had to figure out, am I giving away too much? Am I outing myself? And at that moment, when you're all closeted in a room, but you're looking for somebody who's going through something similar to you, what do you access? You access the internet. Where is everybody? They're on social media sites, Facebook. But Facebook has this thing where it has some open groups, some closed groups, some secret groups. And all I could view at that time, and this time Section 377 had been recriminalized. This is 2013, 2014 time. And the news, every coverage was just around, we need to protest and kind of raise our voices, show people that we are visible, we are not that minuscule a minority. And so the recriminalization actually prompted a lot of people to come out, to kind of show, okay, even if this poses a threat, but we exist and we are there in numbers. And how my journey with digital media, in a sense, began was, so I would go to these protests and meet wonderful folks and get acquainted, and it's very essential to fight for your civil liberties. But knowing so many other people around me who were constantly anxious, depressed, using substances, and had a history of sexual abuse, these protest grounds were again, filled with a lot of agony. So what was needed was another safe space with another lighter or different kind of environment where one could engage with another person. So for a short while, I was in New York working with the International Gay and Lesbian Human Rights Commission. And over there, my work was very intense. We'd be looking at the number of gay men being killed by ISIS and people who've had to flee their countries. But outside of those places, I could go to LGBTQ centers, I could go to queer pubs, I could meet different people under different scenarios. And all because of access to Facebook events that were public. So what I found that was missing in Delhi or in urban spaces at that time there were no public groups on Facebook or public events where one could go and access or be with others from the queer community. So when I returned, I decided that's what I'm going to focus upon, because that is also essential for somebody's mental health when they're going through loneliness or depression, to find like-minded individuals, to find people from the same community, or get a sense or belongingness of a community. Community happens when you actually meet, actually figure out your shared interests and shared concerns. So with Facebook or with Instagram, after understanding what's wrong with certain event curations, there is IDing, there is a threat, they are not inclusive. So then we try to eliminate all those things to make spaces safer, like having gender-neutral washrooms, sensitizing staff, having female bouncers, having just drinks and food that are named after queer culture, having performers from the queer community, taking care of the photography aspect of it. If they're out and they don't want to be photographed, there are masks there. So looking at minuscule aspects and giving or creating those spaces and helping put out those information about those events using Facebook, Instagram. So that's been very essential. And then I conduct workshops in schools and colleges and corporates. And I know at the same time I am giving myself a lot of visibility, and that has its, cons as well. Recently, when the JNK issue happened, they started focusing on everybody whom they thought was a libtard, right? And so queer individuals are also libtards. So they started attacking queer students, people in the queer movement. And for a second, I had a real physical threat on me. So I tried to make everything private on my accounts, but I could not erase the digital footprint that already exists. And that is a kind of risk that all of us are here taking. And now everything is back to public, but we need to really think about where are we heading towards. And great, it's great to be on a panel and talk about this. This would go on YouTube or Facebook and create another digital footprint associating queerness to my name. And I'm up for it, because I want to visibilize myself. I want to bring forth our concerns. But it's a double-sided sword to kind of, at this moment. And is my time up?
Keep having this discussion, because taking this forward, one of the aspects that all of you all have mentioned is learning on the go, how to use the platform, evolve, I guess, with it. How tough is that? What kind of challenges does it present? Of course, I mean, security, safety is one of the concerns. But what does it take to have a steady, consistent voice on a platform that is anything but steady and consistent?
I mean, probably we can, actually, why don't you begin? No, for us, to be honest, to be active online, on social media, is also taking a huge toll on us. Because a large part of our work is on the ground with survivors, organizing communities, fighting with the authorities and all of that. After all that, after a day of fighting and, going out for the fact-finding investigation in the police station and all, then we are coming back home in the evening and then trying to make a small little update on Facebook or Twitter. So many times we used to sit and ask, like, why are we doing this? Like what for, no? Like somebody sitting somewhere is going to read this and feel sad or whatever and maybe like it, not like it. But what is the purpose? Like we used to keep also questioning ourselves, and then we came to this understanding that like it's not our responsibility to go and educate the world or go and teach everyone about how atrocious this whole caste system is and all of that. But I think like we felt like for strengthening the campaign on both offline and online, we felt that visibility one, and secondly that try and see where are our allies, who are those that we can link up with to strengthen the voice, and also how we can use it more strongly for articulation of our own independent and autonomous politics, and so that none of those debates can just simply go past us without us having our stake in that. And that's the reason why we try to continue to see how best we can use this. No doubt challenges, as I said, one is like just being there itself, and also the fact that we are a very small number. If you see like the senior leaders and of the movement, slowly they are also all coming into the digital media, but large part of their work was really directly with the communities, directly with the people. That time we used to write, when we started the Swabhiman Yatra, Dalit Women Self-Respect March, we used to print parcha, no? Like pamphlets, and send. But now the activists are saying like, aap chota sa WhatsApp mein bhej do, then we will send it to everybody. So many things are changing, and also now, especially on Twitter, the voices of younger Dalit women we are seeing is so much more strong, and not just strong, what is the word, with such clarity, no? That this is a space that where we can speak what we really believe in, and no one can simply get away scot-free. So I think that has really strengthened the agency and voice also for us as Dalit women.
So Rafiul and Ravichandran, both of you have spoken about the archiving aspect as the place where you two started. Here, Asha or Divya, both are talking about working very closely with people who work on the ground at grassroots level. How important do you think is it to work with or ally with people who are working on the ground, who may not be as prominently active, say, in the digital space?
So I think I'd like to make a... so what happened is that for us, we started online, but we actually built an offline movement through our online space. So by the end of 2017, I realized that, that our page, Facebook page, was catching up, and a lot of people were liking and sharing our posts. And this couple of young people from Bangalore reached out to me because at that time I was the only person handling that page, and it was not a community as such. And some of my personal experiences informed that. So, and they reached out and they said, how about we have a chapter in Bangalore? And that it just made me, I thought, wow. Like, and people felt that an initiative like this did not exist, and there was a need because a lot of queer Muslims felt excluded. And so in March, before we actually went offline, in March 2000, sorry, not March, in May 2018, we had actually conducted, with the help of an organization in Bangalore, Aneka, we had actually conducted a day-long national consultation with LGBTQ Muslims. And very interestingly, mental health came out as one of the very big concerns because of trauma in families, because of non-acceptance in faith-based spaces, and because of not being able to even talk about this in queer communities. Queer spaces themselves are so exclusive that if you are a culturally leaning Muslim, you cannot talk about that experience, because it is, even queer people, non-queer Muslim queers start imagining that because Islam is such a bad religion, so how can you, it's like almost like a betrayal that you still call yourself a Muslim, without realizing that even queer Muslims come with their own complexities, with own histories, with own experiences. So after that consultation, we have actually we started like a Bangalore chapter, but unfortunately it's not as active because it's mostly students. But we have very active like offline presence in Delhi, and we've started something called Daira, which is like our monthly support group. But one of our biggest highlights, offline highlights, has been in January, and we actually conducted India's first ever national level LGBTQ Muslim retreat. And that was so wonderful because a lot of people, we had an interesting, again, digital space. Like, so in terms of outreach, it often benefits gay man more, right? So the outreach is, so we use Grindr, which is a gay dating app, to do outreach. And we had got like close to 100 applications for the retreat from Siliguri, from Patna, from Allahabad, and not just the big cities. But the challenge when we were reviewing the applications, we realized that there were hardly any women or trans folks. So we realized that then you have to go offline. So I had to individually connect with, like, you know, with the trans movement, with women's rights activists, and say, can you circulate this WhatsApp message in your community, so that, and say that we have, and what we did was that we will cap the number of, say, cisgender, gay, bisexual men at a certain number. So this was, we were very clear. We were like, if we don't get also, we'll cap it so that we don't end up justifying for ourselves that 30 fill ho gaya. So, and the good thing is, like, people like Kusha Kapila, like, who is a big time internet sensation, she, because she follows the Queer Muslim Project page on Instagram, she actually gave a shout out on her story saying that they're looking for queer Muslim women. And the next moment, I got 4 requests saying that, hey, I just learned about this, can I attend? And, you know, even the day before the retreat, we made adjustments and we said, yes, you're welcome. We have space. So for me, I think personally, I would also like to differentiate between Facebook and Instagram, though they're the same company. But the experience is different. I feel Facebook is way more toxic. And it's affected my mental health very badly. And recently, I remember we had posted a video clip of a young Pakistani queer artist. And I posted it in the morning. By the time in the evening when I opened Facebook, there were 400 comments saying, maar dalenge, kaat dalenge. And of course, a lot of Pakistani men who, because they thought this person from Pakistan is spoiling the image of Pakistan and Islam. So for me, it became very difficult because I was constantly banning, but then there would be more comments popping up. I'm like, ki 400 logon ko, mere itne sare comments hai. And another thing is that now, because we have moved beyond online, digitally, we are not only in India. So then the challenge is that how can somebody like me sitting in Delhi assume leadership for people in Bangladesh and Pakistan who have their own specific context. So what we've started doing is we do this live sessions on Instagram where we have Pakistani activists taking over. We actually have a very good network in South and Southeast Asia. Globally, we've built this where now we're planning sessions in, like, say, in Malaysia and Indonesia where people can use the Queer Muslim Project page, but to push their own issues. So that, like, here we don't have to sit in Delhi and decide ki Pakistani ye karenge. So that is how we are, and our strategy, quickly, I'm taking a little more time, is that Delhi, we are doing very offline, we are very inward. We believe that we need closed spaces. I'm very exclusive that way. I feel that queer Muslims need to come to a space and be comfortable to even talk about their religious guilt, because a lot of us have been told by mullahs and by everyone that this is wrong. And we cannot go to a person who is Islamophobic and share that, because then they'll say, हाँ, ये तो तुम्हारे religion में है. So we need a closed space where queer Muslims can talk about that experience and then go outward. So our online presence is more, allows us to be more outward, more bring allies, bring different movements. Like, I would be very happy to push, like, say, Asha wants to share something. I'll be very happy to push that. This is just the strategy. But offline, I will have you, but I will also want that there is a distinction here.
If you could also talk about working very closely on the ground then?
Yeah.
It's on.
So yeah, working, I think that is, that's how I learned a lot working from the ground. It's then I learned how the Indian academicians have been brutally lying about caste, and sociologists especially, how they hid the caste question in academics. I learned from the ground. For an example, I would say, I would bring one example is 1993 was the time when they banned manual scavenging. We have to be ashamed as a government, as a citizens, and as an academicians, because water closet was introduced in the 18th century. By 17th century itself it was introduced. 18th century was there. Britishers were ruling us, and most of the British architecture did have water closet. And we continue to have manual scavenging, including Gandhi never spoke against manual scavenging per se. Okay, he never said that let us introduce water closet until 1993. Aren't we ashamed of it? Academicians should really leave, retire from their academics talking about human rights and dignity and caste. So 1993 and 1990, even 1993, even now it continues. My relatives, not my relatives, the caste, scavenging caste people carry shit on somebody's shit on their head, and they call dignity of labor, and we call democracy, and we speak about father of our nation who never opposed manual scavenging, not introducing water closet, but now the government wants to introduce water closet. So these things I learned from the ground, not in academics.
Right, and you feel that archiving over here is actually helping talk about what is happening on the ground then, which is...
It was again another fight for me actually. For example, I would put this way. I was a fellow in Indian Institute of Advanced Study, and there were a lot of discussion about gender, about women's representation. And there were a large number of women also were there as a fellow, but certainly not as equal as men. But certainly there were some representation of women. But since its inception, I was looking, because ground, I've learned something on ground, then I'm going to institution. Then I find in institution there is not a single Dalit woman in that. Even until date, they haven't taken a single Dalit woman as a fellow. So do they ask us to say that there are no Dalit women qualified to be as an Indian Institute of Advanced Study fellow? So what I mean is, they want to invite Bejawada Wilson and honor him, but not the community. So it is like a tokenism, for, like that's what I get back, Facebook and all this would call us and ask to discuss about this. But what is happening in the ground? So we are here, especially I'm here, exploiting the ground activists' suffering. That's a fact.
But intersectionality in that sense, for, taking forward from what you're talking about, does then talking about these issues, how difficult is it to get your voice heard within the digital din? Because there are so many things being spoken about. So how easy or tough is it to get your voice heard, especially when there is intersectionality involved? Perhaps, Divya, you could take that.
It's very important to keep in mind there's enough space for everyone. You're not competing with anyone. Each person, when they are in need of some space or something, they'll find you. Or because you're pushing it out, the right people who need you at that moment will find you. We welcome more people to be in the space. If there were to be another queer safe space event, I would want to support them through whatever I have learned. So that's one thing. There's enough space, and there should be, because that will amplify that voice. If I am to consider, like, there are so many intersectionalities on this stage right now, and each of us have our own focus. So for me, I have to look at, okay, what am I? I'm a woman living in the urban space, identifying as queer, who is in the events and music industry, who has faced 4 times sexual harassment, who has not gotten the professional and personal integrity or from someone else. I live with a chronic illness. I have a sexual dysfunction, which is invisible to someone. I have some other chronic illnesses. How am I coping with that and my queerness? So if I, through my medium of poetry, was able to make a poem, which has now been screened in 8 countries, and I thought I was all alone in this condition. I did not know anyone else. The global vaginismus support community reached out to me, and I didn't know there was this Facebook group for it. And now I'm currently heading the India Vaginismus Support chapter and Queer and Having Vaginismus chapter. And because of that, I have now been able to communicate with the on-ground gynecologist community. And they've successfully treated about 10 cases of vaginismus. You understand how something like as little as me, understanding finding first what I had, took 6 years, then made a poem out of it, turned it into a poetry film. It reached all the way to Germany, UK, Serbia, comes back in the form of a global community, and it's all on Facebook. And suddenly, I am seeing all these narratives that match. Similarly, we have a LBT group for LBT women, LBT folks, or assigned female at birth folks. And we decide, okay, you know what, we're going to do queer takeovers. We're going to go to this park, simply play cricket, and there are going to be 50 of queer women just being themselves playing cricket. And that's very empowering. So how there's offline and online works in tandem, acknowledging everybody comes from different experiences. Somebody needs help with their transitioning. And Facebook and Instagram, whatever your choice may be, you can just figure it out. And we try to make sure, okay, this is where we're going to be. This is what's going to happen. So it's works so much in tandem, and it's opened up so many spaces, so many thoughts. And also what has happened in the past is, like how I learned was through discourse in academia. But not everybody is privileged enough to understand that language. So sometimes if I am going and speaking to in a school where I'm speaking to 13 and 15-year-olds, I cannot use terminologies, textbook terminologies. So it's figuring out that language, and that is what's important on Facebook and Instagram. You can only write so much. What do you filter out? What information do you give? And that's something we're constantly learning, I think, and putting out.
Can I speak just 2 minutes? Like, one thing is that, Divya, I agree that there is a lot of space for everyone, but also I think it's important to consider who has controlled that space and who has had that space for so long, because we are very few of us when it comes to Dalit women trying to navigate and negotiate that space. So I think that is also something. And second one is to you, what you said, Dipti, about how have we been able to access those spaces because it's intersectional. But I really feel we need to twist this thing around its head, because I think there is nothing like that is intersectional and this is not intersectional. Actually, everything is intersectional. So actually, if we are able to see it in that way, only then we'll make space, and we will, then there's no question of who will create what space and who will take what space, because actually everything is intersectional. And I think someone also said in the earlier panel, there is not a trendy buzzword, I'm an intersectional feminist and whatever. It's not like that. I think everything, that is the center of it all. And I think if we're able to see it that way, then I think it will make a whole world of difference. Because the earlier point also about as Dalit women, both offline and online, we don't have that kind of networks and those kind of support systems. Sometimes, until recently, I didn't know what is that blue tick on Twitter. So someone wrote to me like saying that, you know, there are very few of us Dalit handles which has a blue tick. So, you know, can you push this? That time I understood also, no, that actually so few of us are here in this space, and how do we hold each other? Because on the other hand, there's so many examples of us, Dalit women, who have been hounded so badly, and there has been deathly silence from everyone, including feminists on so-called very active on Twitter. So what happens, and how do we question those spaces? No, who has occupied those spaces? Who is supporting whom? Who have those access to those networks, which obviously we don't have, but yet we are there, we are resisting, and we are still fighting with the thing, as I said, Dipti, in the start, that the only hope is that we can at least find real political allies who will, you know, strengthen the campaigns on the ground finally.
Well, we are talking about digital making a change. Well, we see impact, but one thing that you've been raising you've been concerned about, and you've been talking about, Ravichandran, is how often does that reflect in, say, policy change, or say if Dalit issues have come to the forefront over, say, the last few years because of the digital medium. Are there jobs today for the community, or how much solid change has happened on the ground then? So if you could talk a bit about those concerns.
You mean change due to the online space? Your concern. Oh, Aja, my concern. Actually, it's a very pathetic, actually, when I look into Dalit's issue. It's very pathetic. Like you find Rohit Vemla, and after his suicide, allegedly suicide for me, and there were a lot of protests. His mother came out. Without his mother, I think the movement would have not sustained. But now she's largely alone. So a lot of sacrifices, like Jignesh Mevani, at least fine, he became an MLA. Now Chandrasekhar Azad, he was brutally beaten up in the prison, and now he's not feeling well. And so many, if you open the news, actually I stopped reading news, to be frank. Why? In the sense, a lot of violence on Dalits, everyday violence. How many days I should read about violence? And now it is a fashion for documentary makers to picture the shit with Dalits and make a life out of Dalits exploitation. So I find it very pathetic, the condition of way the Dalits are portrayed. So now, whether it is the same thing on the ground, certainly not. There are movements like what Asha Kowtal's and various other movements on the ground are there, even Chandrasekhar Azad's or Jignesh Mevani's Azad. But the problem is, you need to be a second generation, or you have to be a privileged person to compete with them. See, like for example, there were many editors who left the newspapers and started another venture in online space. See, but they are mobilizing fund. Okay, we are a channel, we don't ask fund, and we are first generation, don't even have our own house on our own, and then we are competing with whom? Biggest corporate lobbies. And now you find so many online spaces have come up with money. So earlier I used to write for Roundtable India. Now I need money, so now I'm writing for online portal. So you see how they also exploit. I say that, yeah, I also exploit, but certainly I'm not exploiting. They are exploiting the space of Roundtable India, which has been one of the prominent space, and I'm going there. So now I need to start an NGO. For what? Because I need to survive. I don't have fathers or my community background. I don't have some second generation community who has a land to support me. Like my friends to call and say that, hey, I'm starting an NGO. Can you give me funds? Okay, yeah, come, I'll give you fund. I'll give you some fellowship. I don't. So for example, I want to do a research on toilet. For an example, I'm just giving. I need to do a research on toilet. I'm saying that toilet is a serious problem. There is a behavioral change of toilets. So now my problem is, how many institutions are ready for fellowships? No, there is no merit. Today only I read somewhere that merit is a myth, completely a myth. So unless until I change, my name is Ravichandran, but my caste is not Ravichandran caste. Ravichandran is a Brahmin name in Tamil Nadu. So I have to be a Brahmin or some other caste to have even a fellowship. So what I mean is, it's very bleak. The job, everything is bleak. The future is bleak. I would blame, in my personal note, I would blame. The condition is right now, if a Dalit comes to know about his status in society, it is difficult for him to survive. That is what I would say. For students, if they don't want to science department Dalits, better you just live with that. If you know about caste, the situation is not, it's very hostile to fight. You cannot fight. You just see what happened Rohit Vemla and so many other suicides took place and so many massacres, attacks are happening every day. They're chopping head. See, very important thing of this digitalization, what it told us to Dalits actually, it said, earlier we used to believe that we need evidence. The court was asking evidence. But now we are providing evidence. But they're not bothered, caste Hindus. They're lynching, they're flogging in front of police station. It was threatening for me actually. There must be, it was threatening on my spine. And what kind of a digitization we are speaking about? And so then it's only after, academicians were not responding, only after the ground level people could protest by throwing the carcasses, I could relieve myself. It was really a threatening for me because I was so scared. Earlier there were many videos circulating in Karnataka. They were saying that beating up a Dalit and saying that you should tell on the video. They were asking him to tell on the video that he will not love a caste in the woman. So that is fine because it is a private video. At least you can survive. But here, in front of police, and the media is discussing about that visual. For me, that visual, it is a violence. So I find it so obnoxious of the way the visualization, the digitization bringing the danger for Dalit community. Because one thing is, I would just shorten it. See, caste survives with lynching, with power. Caste survives with power. That is the base. How it survives with power? Through violence. And violence not private, public violence. And this public violence displaying public violence. So what Akka was telling, that earlier they used to circulate videos. It's fact. So that videos which smartphone did not empower us as much it could have, but it empowered the caste Hindus to threaten us. And I'm not able to, there are no Dalits who say that, okay, I will sacrifice my life for the community. No, because my father and mother left all the job and they took money lending to make me study. So I have to go and pay back. And I would be a bad role model. So there are so many multiple things if I have to fight the social backlog. And the academic space, which should have been a forefront addressing caste, I would say they have to be blamed for how they suppress the question of caste. So that is, so it is very bleak and it is very threatening.
Right. Sorry.
No, I completely agree with what he said, because on one hand, it's like clickbait, no? Like one thing is coming and then you're just seeing some horrific thing. And but what it leaves on us, and you know, there's just really no way to even explain how we have to deal with that kind of real pain and suffering on a daily basis. But at the same time, we are seeing that this is just being like it's like a mass consumption by everyone else, our bodies and our pain. So yeah, I completely understand what Ravi is saying.
Although interestingly, when there was a recent, 377, the whole big change that happened, a lot of people's academicians believe that the power of the internet has a lot to do with that change in policies. How do you two view that?
I think 377 has a rich, long history of many people coming together in different ways, be it parents of queer people, be it different lawyers, different petitions, NGOs. So I think for me, I would see it as as a collective struggle that continued for years, that finally found culmination through those petitions and the judgment. But just connected to both of them, not drawing a comparison, but I also feel that this is a question that I'm asked very often, that 377 has gone, so things must have changed. But I personally feel that, yes, it's a great thing that we are not criminals. It's basic, that we have basic recognition. But do we have, I don't think we exist as juridico-legal citizens. So tomorrow if I'm beaten up, I cannot go and file a case that says I was beaten up because I'm a gay man, but it would be just noted as a case of violence, physical violence. It does not have the same charge of homophobia, of the aggression that came out of that homophobic attitude, right? This is one thing. Another thing is that, and which has led to me actually moving away from Facebook, is that I'm not just a queer person. I am also, and very proudly so, I am a Muslim, right? And the kind of news that you see constantly on lynching, and my family, we belong to Assam but live in Meghalaya, and the kind of conversation that's happening around NRC, and these are issues that affect me directly. And I'll give a very, very personal example, is that one of my uncles recently received a notice, quite interesting, and and he got a notice that just read that you will have to come and appear to the court because there is an allegation that you are a Bangladeshi who came to Assam via Nepal. And because somebody made an allegation, we don't know who made that allegation, we don't know, you now will have to fight a case in the court. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I got so furious. I was like, what kind of indignity is this? Why would you have to go through this? I mean, what did you do to deserve this, right? And so, for a lot of us, I think I talk to a lot of young Muslim men and women, not just queer people. I see there is after a point, people are just burning out. And lynching and the communalism, I would say, is a major public health concern right now. I think we should see it as a public health concern. Yeah. It has caused depression. It has caused so much anxiety and fear and stress. And than for me to just say that because 37, because I am a whole person, right? It's not just one aspect of my identity, but how do, and that's where intersectionality again, like, and connected to Divya, I also feel like that not everybody has equal space. Yeah. Some people are also coming to, if I'm, one of the major reasons for my burnout, I find the Queer Muslim project very exciting, very enabling in many ways. But one of the major reasons for me to have gradually broken down is also the Queer Muslim project. When people come to me with personal stories of trauma, I don't have the capacity, because when I go back to my room, those stories sink into me, you know, and I feel what's happening. And then I go out and I see so much violence, so much hate. And one little example is that the shootings that happened a few days back at Christchurch, and I'm so amazed and inspired by some of the activists abroad, queer Muslim activists. They actually organized an online meeting where queer Muslims could come together and come together and cry collectively. And I thought that's so wonderful, because all these people would go and stand outside the mosque, but if you're a trans person, you would not be recognized as a good Muslim. If you're a gay man who is very flamboyant and is known, you would not be considered as one amongst us. But does that mean that when a Muslim person is lynched or is killed, that somebody who is queer and Muslim does not relate?
So again, a sense of community then.
A community,
again.
and building that again online, I think.
Right,
different things are happening.
right. And with you, I mean, we are talking about mental health, for instance, and you look at that, you look at mental health issues and, I mean, bring them together, right?
Yeah.
So if you could talk about how, a little more on how the digital medium, you use the digital medium to address mental health when it comes to, say, queer issues or disability.
Yes. See, you brought up Section 377. There is a lack of information in the general public about Section 377 and what it entailed. The only thing is that gay men particularly and trans folks can't be charged with it. There are certain sections in the IPC still present. Lesbians are taken to the police stations under section of abduction. The families, patriarchal families and the police get together and say, this person's living with this person, they've been abducted. So out of nowhere, you're charged with that. Currently, you still can't own a joint bank account. Marriages are only seen as heterosexual unions. The trans folks are still jailed and raped based on, there's an obscene songs and act, or dance act in the IPC. There is anti-beggary laws. There is, you know, on site without anything else, you can put in a person if you believe they are kind of engaging in sex work. So there are these different laws that are still there that are targeting people. So Section 377 is just a start. LGBTQ, there's so many words. It's only helped address the issues of, say, G and T to some extent. The other areas are still there. So it's a great win. And your question initially was, how is digital aided in this win? As Rafiul mentioned, it's been a long, drawn-out process. For me, until I didn't know I was queer, I did not know about Section 377. You understand? So a person who's more affected by it gets to know about it. And suddenly I'm like, yay, I figured myself out. Oh, this exists. You understand? I wasn't... You're constantly dealing with a lot of push and pull. And when it comes to mental health, so yes, everybody here, we're dealing with a lot of negativity all the time because of different facets of a personality. I am the kind of person who likes to focus on the positive, even in the worst of times. So for example, if I've had an injury, terrible one, for 5 years, couldn't get it fixed, somehow got it fixed, but that doctor learned how to fix it and now helped 100 more people. So whenever something happens to me, I see like the good side of it. Similarly, when I noticed that there weren't spaces to be, I wanted there to be a space with joy and laughter. Mental health, I understand everybody I spoke to was lonely or depressed because they didn't have a partner, because they couldn't be themselves someplace. I have so many messages from cross-dressers in my Insta and Facebook inbox saying, I want to be myself someday, what do I do? I carry sari, dupatta, makeup and bangles with me to my events and help them dress up before it. because they want to be their authentic selves. Then if they want to know, okay, resources, I share resources. And I cannot, like, I understand the personal burnout process. I've been on antidepressant for almost 1.5, 2 years now because of various reasons, but I do not engage in one-on-one sessions anymore because I understand how taxing it is. But I rather engage with group sessions where I can sensitize people and take in their concerns and provide them with resources. Because I believe, like, change happens in larger spaces, in schools and other spaces. So dealing with 13-year-olds, 250-year-old clients who kind of sometimes believe, I like anal sex, am I gay? Something as simple as that, a man's coming to a 4-hour session just to get an answer to that. You know? So people are still trying to figure out their own sexualities, their gender identities, and if you can aid in that through digital medium, through memes, through anything, and spread a bit of laughter and joy and lift them up from that state of despair, I think that's great.
One of the most important, I think, personally, I believe the achievements is Dalit History Month, which is now also a campaign that is now also acknowledged and practiced in a way internationally as well.
As I said in the initial comments, a few Dalit women, we again found each other online and also did a lot of reading at that time about the Black History Month and met some of the other allies in the Black Lives Matter group, say her name, and we had done one tour also of different universities there with the team from All India Dalit Mahila Adhikari Manch. And at that time, there was this collective of few Dalit women who put their heads together, did a lot of research and launched Dalit History Month in the whole month of April. We decided on April for Baba Saheb Dr. Ambedkar's Jayanti on 14, but we started on April 1st and we had done all our research, got some images, some text, and a friend had done the designing, and that's how this collective emerged from that year onwards. But of course, after that, the collective is now very much independent, much more highly evolved. There are friends in America, North America, who are also actively pushing this Dalit History Month group online and also offline, where many groups across India can access support and also do some small mini events in connection with Dalit History Month. So I think, to me personally, that was really a very, that time we understood, like, so many people were coming, visiting. We did that whole timeline, tiki-toki timeline, where you could just go and move around the years and actually see different parts of our history. And that was like a complete, like almost like a full syllabus on its own.
And it was very popular.
It became very popular, yes.
We all learned a lot from it.
That's what, so many of us also, for us also, we were so amazed with that. And then when we had the stall here also in Delhi, we printed out all of that and then we displayed it. So I think that gave a lot of energy, and as a collective project, and a really educative project for us and for so many others who joined and visited that site.
So I suppose it would be safe to say that at least one thing that the digital is doing, I hope you will agree, Rafiul, is that where you want to do something that's in a way unprecedented, at least it gives you that space instead of you having to run around pillar to post trying to have that kind of a project out or a voice out then.
Definitely. I think there's a lot to celebrate. And for us, I think we would not have existed. I don't know how, now we are very offline as well, but our, it was that little spark. It happened online. And even today, the way we have leveraged, and our Instagram feed is a lot of celebration. And in fact, this month, because March 2017, we started TQMP, and this is March 2019, and we are actually, this is our anniversary month, right? 2 years. So we are running a campaign called Queer Muslim Affirmations, where we are actually publishing stories by queer Muslim individuals that talk about how they are special, why they must celebrate themselves. So I think And certainly the kind of connections it has enabled. Like, I remember there was a lot of conversation on Pulwama and that atmosphere, and then we do a live with 2 Pakistani activists, and so many people going crazy saying, hey, this is so amazing, and they're saying, we don't want war, we don't want war. And I was like, it was such a heart-touching moment that, you know, that we are, in our little ways, able to nurture that mess, because it's so radical if you come to think of someone like a queer person in a Muslim, in a theocratic state, right, in Pakistan, talking about queerness and using that to build this kind of global connection. So I think there is the beauty, and we need to celebrate, and so much has been possible because of the digital medium, certainly, yeah.
Right. We'll, I think, open the floor to questions now. Can we have some questions from the audience? Just a request, please introduce yourself with your name before you ask the question.
Okay. Yeah, hi, this is Suyas. I work with Observer Research Foundation.
Also, if you could, whoever asks the questions, if you could specify who the question is addressed to.
Okay, yeah, sure. My question is to you, ma'am. Apparently, we are at the moment doing a study on a related theme like this, and we have observed very contrasting observations in the rural sphere of India. Like, there has been a more support regarding giving more independence to women, be it in social or technological sphere, but practically, when it comes to giving independence in those own families, those men who has sort of voiced their concerns, voiced their support for this, are sort of hesitating in this regard. So now the point is that the technology or digitization can never be empowering in itself until unless we link it to broader policy interventions across the social sectors. So I just wanted to know what can be those policy interventions which can bring a pragmatic change and a visible change in the short run, especially in the rural sphere of India. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were taking a couple of
No,
we
no,
can
no.
take a couple of questions.
Okay. Why don't you take this one then?
See, my experience is directly working with a group of 30, 35 young women leaders from the community who are now active on using digital media, and walking with them in this whole journey over the past few years, I have seen that, I don't know, feeling of empowerment, I don't know how to define that, but I can surely see the clarity of articulation, the independent way in which these young leaders are actually expressing themselves online, and very powerfully. And that is like for the first time ever, they're also challenging their own families, their own communities, and I think unke family mein, they are the only one who is able to manage this. Nobody else is actually managed to be active on online. So that way, yes. But in terms of policy changes, what you're saying, I think something that recently we had a long discussion around was about, what are those called? Community standards, no? Like safety, what comes under, what are those criteria that come under hate, hate speech? No. What are those that would violate a particular standard of in the community, no, online community? So in that doesn't recognize caste or caste abuses, or like calling somebody a chamar slut, or talking something like really using a casteist abuse. So those things are not coming. So that is something that lots of digital security related groups are actually pushing for, making that part of this criteria which come under those violations under the community standards. So I think having all of that will surely make Dalit women more secure to be present online. So I think that is one I can think of off my head.
Good evening all. My name is Abhishek Kumar and I am preparing for civil services. My question is to Mr. Ravichandran sir. Sir, you said that a person cannot get a fellowship because he or she is a Dalit. But in 2015, a 22-year-old Dalit girl topped the UPSC examination, Miss Tina Dhabi. So, sir, my question is, do you think that Dalit lacks a good leader who actually want, honestly, the empowerment of whole community rather than only empowering his or her own family members? And second thing, sir, you said that merit is a myth, but I think that if it was so, then a Dalit man wouldn't have become the president of India, Shri Ramnath Kovind ji. Thank you.
Yeah, still both are Dalits. That's my point. Tina Dibbe never said, before going to the exam, she never said she's a Dalit. You civil servants made her as a Dalit. They really brutally harassed her as a Dalit. She literally said in a video or interview that how much harassment she faced. She never said she's a Dalit. So that is one. And Ramnath Kovind, there is an allegedly how he was not allowed, allegedly, there was not allowed for a temple. So there is that is also there. So it's not, you should have given an example of K.R. Narayanan instead of Ramnath Kovind for the stance what K.R. Narayanan has taken. And so that is, see, merit is you cannot take one rice in the paddy field and say that rice is everything is good outside the field. But I'm talking about the field, not some rice which fell out of the field. So you cannot take one example, Tina Dibbe, and say that everybody is, and civil servants. So yeah, so like that. So I would say, when I said about merit, see, that's what, give me an example. Why in Indian Stuff Advanced, I'm very open because I've been part of different committees of Indian Stuff Advanced Study. Why there was not a single Dalit woman taken as a fellow there? I'm not saying that I'm not speaking for Dalit women because that is another harassment which I'm doing. I'm saying Dalit men were given some chance. And that institution speaks about progressiveness. They say that the women are marginalized. If women are marginalized, women should be, Dalit women also women, right? She has to be part of that kind of a discussion. So for these many years, and there were women directors coming and going. So basically I mean to say, that is a pioneer institution. There are two clauses in that institution. One is about interview, then another one is invitation. So even you can't invite a single Dalit woman as a fellow. So that is my problem. So that is not the only one. You can take CSSC, CSDSC, take all the pioneer institutions, take IITs, IIMs, and IITs and IIMs should have given a solution for manual scavenging long back. And now they are coming to Bejawada Wilson and asking him, please give a solution for manual scavenging. And you don't let him to study in IITs. So my problem is that you want to exotic Dalits. You want to make Dalits sit here and speak about Dalits and you will just take some footnote for your exam and you'll go. So this would be the problem for me. My problem is we don't want to see be as an exotic figure. We want you to take back and engage with us. So all the points, whenever I speak, there is a hard-hitting point, certainly, because it is not about, I don't want you to give some flattery thing for you, because that is not the life which many of the Dalits live in. But at least I am privileged to come here with a flight and be royally treated. But not all Dalits, even manual scavenging, how many deaths have taken place nearby in Delhi itself last month? It's actually all of Indians should be ashamed, and civil servants, actually bureaucrats was one of the major reasons. They should have stopped manual scavenging, at least as a bureaucratic, right? You study a lot and you can't stop manual scavenging, people dying out of the sewers, and who's dying? You think they just lie, that's like a swimming pool for them, they just jump into it? There is a bureaucrat who's asking him to get into that sewer. And CPM who talks about the labor class, where were they? Did they ever talk about the labor issue? This is a labor issue, right? It is not the part of their agenda at all for CPM until now, left movements. So if they ask us why Dalits are accusing this, we will accuse you. You grew up with our blood, our sweat and blood. And then you don't even speak about our emancipation, or even you don't even recognize us. So that is a problem. See, merit, when I say about merit, see, there are two things you should remember about reservation, because it is continuous argument. Reservation is not an empowerment, so-called. If you want to know about reservation policy, you should go to the Panchayat president. See, you can wear a Nike shoe. You should know the danger of Nike shoe when you ask a Dalits to wear and walk in the upper caste village. His leg could be chopped off. It happens even now. You go to Tamil Nadu and all, you'll see, because I'm from Tamil Nadu, certainly Haryana and all, Akka was reporting that time, every day one Dalit women were raped. Why were they raped? This is Delhi, right? Parliament is here. Nearby, all the civil servants, aspirants, institutions are nearby. So I find there is a serious problem. That is not about merit. You go to the Panchayat. A woman who, see, when the Panchayat Act was introduced, they were not able to conduct elections in many of the Panchayats because Caste Hindu said that you cannot have reserved constituency. And one guy said that no, we will protest because we believe in constitution rights. He protested and he won the election after 2-3 generations, okay, not generation, 2-3 terms.
Until then, they couldn't contest the elections. But in other part, Melavalavu, you can browse and check. Melavalavu, one guy won the election. What they did, caste Hindus? This guy went to the police station and said that I'm facing threat. Dalit president said. He's coming on the bus. And the caste Hindus stopped the bus in the middle of the road and took him down along with his relatives and sat on his chest and chopped off his head, saying that you are a Dalit head, I'm cutting your head. And they threw one side of the head, other side, body in the other part. This happened long back, even now recently also some caste violence had taken place. But I'm giving you an example. Where is the merit in this? And even how many Panchayat presidents are do not have the rights to sign a check. They're not they're not allowed to sit on a chair. And you have seen this in Karnataka election, a Dalit person was taken in reserved constituency, but he has to carry his own glass with him. And this is BJP's candidate he was. See, caste, I mean to say, there is a serious problem in the way we understand caste. It is not your problem, it is not my problem. I think the way we are taught about caste is problem. So you go to a manual scavenger and tell him that you leave the job and come. Because there is I find there is something which Gandhi was speaking, which we are forgetting to understand the nuances, why it was so confusing between the Gandhians and the Ambedkarites. See, Gandhi was talking about modernity with the idea of purity and pollution. So the purity and pollution with the modernity is something very difficult to, until now they haven't departed each other. So the demarcation between the purity pollution ideology in religion and the modernity debate, modernity approach to the disease and the purity and pollution is there's meager. There is a very vague gap between that. So I find merit is a myth, and merit is only for Brahmins. I'm sorry to say, not Brahmins, all the caste Hindus. Huh?
Can we take a couple of more questions, perhaps? Can we take a couple of them together, maybe? Yeah? So you can, okay. We'll take 2 questions from here, if you could.
Okay. Hi, my name is Smita Sahai, and I'm a curator of CSR projects, and I've also done a project on gender mainstreaming for livelihoods project with Plan India. My question is related to a report that was published in today's Indian Express, and that is to do with the chopping off of the syllabus of the history, 9th standard history textbook, where 70 pages or some odd pages were chopped off because they depicted something about the Nadar caste in the Travancore region. I don't know whether, forgive my ignorance, I don't know whether they come under the Dalit, this thing. That is one more thing that we have to make ourselves aware of. But my question is that digitization, is it going to help build, like you said, an alternative narrative? Is it going to, do you believe that it can be a platform for presenting history which is kind of altered by, successive people who think they have the right to kind of present it their way? And do you think that it can be sort of, do a pun intended course correction in this context?
I think they've also been talking about archiving, but I'll allow them to kind of address it.
Yeah, I just have one more question and one request also. That in terms of, using, ma'am, I heard you use the word libtard. Could I request you not to give credence to such terminology, because we have a lot of abuse in the form of, secular, prostitute, libtard. I would request that on a panel like this, please don't give credence to people who use such language, and, and give more credence to such.
Although I suppose,
right?
we can own it and completely dismiss the whole negativity of it. That's my opinion, but I'll let her later.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, my name is Samir. I just want to ask one question regarding regarding the whatever you said. Can the violence is a solution to the any violence? Because do you want to address some issue with violence? Suppose there is some violence is going on. You want to seek solution with the violence, because you are saying that language that something you support left wing, and sometimes you are just using some words against that. There are many violence going on with the Dalits. Do you think it is good to solve some kind of violence with your violence from
I
your
don't
side?
think there has been any indication of violence in his language, though. I mean, he's definitely pointing out violence, but I don't think his language or his attitude has been violent in its. I think anger is perhaps what you're trying to say, but anger, I think, is a valid, very valid emotion, a very crucial emotion in any kind of a struggle. So, yeah.
Sir, Ravi sir, you can answer. After the Koregaon violence, Pratap Bhanu Mehta sir writes for Indian Express, and he has authored one amazing column where he said that Dalits were able to give narrative that we have not won, you have been defeated. That was something narrative given by that section, which Pratap Bhanu Mehta sir written in Indian Express. So my question is, has the narrative really changed? Because if you see the hierarchy of power, still at the top of bureaucracy, very few Dalits are there at the level of joint secretary or secretary. My question is, has this narrative, has it changed? That's my first question. And even if it is changing, how much time it will take to change, to translate the narrative into the real impact happening on the ground?
I will take the second one.
Who are you addressing the question? Okay, right. And once you address this question, then perhaps we'll
take the second round of questions.
We still have more questions.
So one is about the violence. If I just put a footnote. Actually, Dalits were the people who are not so-called physically violent. You can just see. Even so much massacre took place in the Kailanji or any attack. They haven't gone and violently attacked the village. They have been protesting. Their language may be for you, maybe violently expressing, but not a physical violence. But if you ask me whether you would propose violence, certainly not physical violence, but violence in a form of ideological, the violently which you are proposing your ideology on me, I would have to oppose that violently. Not that physical violence I mean, like even arguing, even openly opposing it, not even taking a chance of agreeing to that even in a platform like this. So that kind of a violent form of stopping is what I think it's needed. It's enough for us to be very liberal or kind of a sophisticated language using. So I think that is one, but not physical violence. I don't think Dalits also ever go with physical violence. That's not a question at all. When I talked about the left movement, that is a history I'm talking about, but how they were treated. But I'm not saying Dalits. Yeah.
If we are saying against the casteism, then you should avoid using any kind of this word which represents some specific.
Yeah. See, I would put it in a different way. I think everybody knows there is a caste system in India. Okay. Then I am a scavenger. Then I'm not a non-scavenger. I'm talking about the non-scavenger. There is an ideology there. There is a lot of literature there. And I think there is a hell lot of literature and arguments and all there. So that is where I represent. I have a role in it. And they have a role in it to put me in this situation. So that is one. So in your case, see Dalit movement has a revolutionary potential. It is actually. It is. I think I used to tell many of my friends or even when I speak, if one day if you cover all the Dalits movements in India, India will have a revolution in a day. But nobody wants to cover that. They want to suppress it and they want to threaten you. And we were, even when we take violence, Dalits were in the loss. Not even violence, when you protest. How many police cases are filed on Bhim Koregaon? Anand Teltumade was not even present in that meeting. And now he has been, Anand Teltumade, Satyanarayana, so many people. So state form of violence has been there, but they are not able to suppress the Dalit empowerment, not empowerment, Dalit revolution. So I mean to say there is a revolution happening on the ground. But I don't know when will it reach this globalization spaces. For that it won't happen automatically. We need people like you, because all of you are part of this negotiation. It is not happening in the moon, because you are part of that narration. I am part of that narration. It is time when we engage with that narration. That is the time they would have a space in these platforms. So I think that is where it will have an immense impact on it. And I think it might happen in near future, but not sure. It doesn't look like it is going to happen also.
I just wanted to add one line to, actually for me, for Ravi and all, it is not our headache actually, this caste. You said, no, you all don't believe in caste. Actually, we are not even in that, no? We are not even in that structure, we are outside. As untouchable people, we are outside that. So it's not our headache, first of all. It's actually everybody else's headache who's actually, continuing this oppression for so long and happily sitting and enjoying the privileges at the cost of someone else. I think that is something that really needs to be understood. Secondly, आप एक बार सोचिए अगर the kind of atrocities, according to the National Crime Records Bureau, 6 Dalit women are raped every day in this country. In case अगर हमारे समाज उस rape को उल्टा violent, again physical violence या sexual violence से oppose किया होता तो क्या होता इस देश में? What would have happened? But that is not the way our community has ever responded. But the media has always projected us like that, misrepresented us. Like if we are coming out protesting with the bodies of our young women and who have been killed and mutilated, that time the media will not report that story. The media will report that Dalit protesters broke the glass of the bus, or they did some damage over there. वो report करेंगे and to project us as a violent community, but that's not the case at all. And I don't think anyone in this panel ever spoke about physical violence as a resort to countering caste atrocities. No. That's why I said also in the beginning, in a system, this entire criminal justice system, starting from the site of violence to the FIR to the entire procedures within the courts, that entire system is almost designed to fail us. Nothing is working. Still, our people came out on April 1st for the protecting the SCST Prevention of Atrocities Act. Why? Because we are saying that that act belongs to us, and then we are still holding really strong on the constitutional guarantees. तो हम कभी अभी तक वो position नहीं है, in spite of having so much of backlash on us as activists and as teachers and as people from the community itself. Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to add something more to that, which is we are currently, there's even an issue to bring up the oppressor's name. That's where we're at right now. And sometimes we end up saying, say if violence is meted out to women, violence on women is a women's issue. I think that's where the terminology has to change. Men raping women is a men's issue. Upper caste oppressing the lower caste, if that's how you can even call it, is that upper caste issue. So first, if we are talking about narratives, why don't we begin with simple things like, instead of a Dalit issue, it's a upper caste issue, Brahmin issue, and say it out loud. This is women being meted out, rape and violence is not a women issue, it's a men's issue. They need to fix it, if men are the perpetrators. With queer people, similarly. So, if you expect anybody on this panel to backtrack on that, that should not happen.
Hi, good afternoon. This is a question for all of you. I'm Aditi from Velocity. We provide touchless talent to HR. Now, this is very generic. I see a lot of overexposure to content on social media. It's reality, a lot of which is reality, a lot of which is fictitious. And it's difficult as a user to sometimes filter that and understand what's right and what's wrong. Sometimes users come out with wrong biases, and a lot of them get scarred as well. Now, to that extent, I have two questions. Are people using and consuming social media in the right way? And secondly, can we come out with some sort of educational plans to actually make people use and understand, make them understand what is right and what's wrong on social media?
Hi, I'm sorry. The second question I think should be addressed to policymakers, I suppose. The first one, I suppose, if any of y'all would,
So, because you said it's to the general, all four of us, and we are more concerned with creating of that thing and not how it's being consumed, I believe. We are trying to put it out. We're already making sure a certain kind of language is being used. So everybody sitting on this panel is trying to bring out marginalized voices, first of all. So the current problem lies in the periscope or the lens of how the majority is seeing these marginal voices. So when we put out our narratives, we're trying to also correct the terminologies at time and show them this is the sensitive way to talk about this issue. We're trying to also reduce the otherness. So even if we're having safe space events, we are keeping them open to LGBTQ and allies. Because the ultimate aim is to create these little heterotopias that will further spill into the entirety of space. So that one day, there aren't these differences to go on by, you know. So from that perspective, I believe we're more concerned with what is being created and how we are able to put out there, because our voices, even though we exist on digital media, are not being heard as much as the mainstream ones are.
Right, thank you so much. Okay, right.
गुड आफ्टरनून सर. पहले तो मैं एक बात बोलना चाहूँगा. सर ने बोला माय नेम इज़ लोकेश एंड मैं यूपीएससी की प्रिपरेशन कर रहा हूँ. लकीली मैंने क्लियर भी कर लिया है. और नहीं
Oh, I can do the translation in just in case. Yeah.
सर जो बोल रहे हैं मैं उसके साथ 100 because my father is a very senior bureaucrat in राजस्थान. और जैसे इन लोगों ने बोला, आपके इंडियन एक्सप्रेस में भी खबर छपी थी 3 फरवरी को, सेकंड पेज पे लेफ्ट हैंड साइड. 1993 के अंदर जो था मंडल कमीशन लागू हुआ, उसके हिसाब से 27% रिजर्वेशन मिलता. आज भी नॉर्थ ब्लॉक, साउथ ब्लॉक और जेएनयू डीयू में ब्राह्मण्स के अलावा टॉप प्रायोरिटीज पे कोई नहीं है. ये करेक्ट है. मेरे फादर, मैं नाम नहीं लेना चाहूँगा, 2008 में एक चीफ सेक्रेटरी बैठे थे मेरे फादर के साथ और उन्होंने उनको बोला कि राजेश देखना कौन कौन ब्राह्मण हैं, कौन कौन राजपूत हैं, उनको थोड़ा सेलेक्ट करना. और मेरे गुरु हैं, हमारे हम 3 लोग हैं, हमारे गुरु हैं, भारत के डीजीपी रहे हुए हैं, यहाँ स्पेशल सेक्रेटरी थे एमएल कुमावत साहब. उनकी किताब थी, उन्होंने परसों ही मेरे से बात भी हुई उनकी, तो उन्होंने भी पूछा मेरे से कि क्या प्रॉब्लम है. उत्तर प्रदेश में सर 545 आईपीएस ऑफिसर हैं अभी पोस्टेड, उसमें से सिर्फ 5 मुसलमान हैं. जब इनके पीपल बोर्ड पे ही नहीं रहेंगे तो इनकी प्रॉब्लम सुनेगा कौन. तो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट बात यह है, आज आप राजस्थान में देख लीजिए, मैं हालांकि मैं दलित नहीं हूँ, राजस्थान में आप देख लीजिए कितने आईएएस ऑफिसर हैं, कितने आईपीएस ऑफिसर हैं, नॉर्थ ब्लॉक, साउथ ब्लॉक, कितने लोग जाते हैं कैबिनेट सेक्रेटरी, कितने लोग चीफ सेक्रेटरी बनते हैं, इनके कोई है ही नहीं, इनका बोर्ड पे ही नहीं है. अब बोर्ड पे नहीं होगा तो सुनेगा कौन. ये तो उन लोगों के लिए जवाब था जिन्होंने कास्ट की बात करी.
हाँ, सही बात है. और इसीलिए हम ये भी सवाल उठा रहे हैं कि आज टीवी चैनल्स पे कितने हम दलित महिलाएं हैं, टीवी, भारत के टीवी चैनल्स में, इंडियन एक्सप्रेस में, बाकी यू नो मीडिया हाउसेस में दलित जर्नलिस्ट या दलित विमेन कहाँ पर है, ये भी बहुत बड़ा सवाल है. और आपने सही कहा है.
मेरा सवाल ये तो सवाल ये था कि सर बीइंग ए ब्यूरोक्रेट, आईएएस बनने के बाद जैसे मैं देखता हूँ अपने घर में काफ़ी ब्यूरोक्रेट्स हैं, लोग मतलब भूल जाते हैं कि कौन सी पृष्ठभूमि से आए और फिर मतलब अपना जो एम लेके चले वो भूल जाते हैं. तो जैसे आज का जो टैग लाइन है कि एम्पावरिंग द मार्जिनलाइज, देश की जनता 80% गांव में ही रहती है, तो कहाँ हम गांव से कैसे शुरुआत करें कि ये प्रॉब्लम ऐसे 5 स्टार होटल में प्रोग्राम करने की जरूरत ना पड़े, कि गांव से हम कैसे उसको शुरुआत करें एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे, कि हम लोग उसको प्रूव करें कि भाई कोई प्रॉब्लम ही ना हो.
We'll take one more question. We'll take one more question. You want your question, right?
Yeah, please do. Why don't? Okay.
I think, sir, my question would be with you. My name is Binod and I'm a master's student and I'm doing master's in journalism from IP University, Delhi. IP University, Guru Gobind Singh University. Basically, I'm from Bihar. I'm not Brahman, I'm not Dalit. I'm from OBC class. If you're talking about caste, I'm Yadav. I went to my village, I observed, especially I went to Dalit Vasti. I talked to Dalit people, those who were especially 60, 70 years old. And I was asking that what was earlier Zamindar used to do with you people, talking to you people and behaving with you people, and what is now? Don't you think that situation of Dalit has been improved in India now? First question. Second question, in 60s, 70s, the situation was, that is not now, but people who are activists, I'm not against them. They are just addressing the same issue which was in 60s and 70s. I will talk about politicians basically who are from Dalit, like Ramvilas Pasman. All of their family members are MPs from Bihar. One is from Samastipur, I'm from Samastipur, his brother is MP from there. That is Dalit empowering. Why don't Dalit people are talking against them? Why they are just giving ticket only family member?
Okay. Okay. A couple of things, but just one thing. This question was very similar to one question that was asked in the previous panel about women misusing sexual harassment laws. So, again, patriarchy, the response was patriarchy, and in this case, power breeds power. Like, they say power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, and that should not be the sole, ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि क्योंकि मैं दलित हूँ या मैं मुस्लिम हूँ तो मैं I can't aspire for power. And so that placing that burden itself is very unfair in the first place. So just that. Another thing is that we are very bad in terms of diversity in India. I mean, we are a diverse country, but when it comes to even media houses, right? So why are there fewer Muslims or fewer people from marginalized background? Because access bhi to nahi hai na. Matlab, a lot of young Muslims, like you will see in the Muslim community, how many people you can count. PhDs are so low, right? Because people don't see, like in higher education, how many people want to pursue that and go into something that will really give them that kind of a career. It's so difficult. And I think we have to build those. I mean, when I said that I support exclusive space earlier, I was thinking that I meant this, that you need to create that first step where people can come and be comfortable and go and talk about their rights. A lot of people right now are not able to do that. And we do not have, like, I don't know, Dipti, can you answer this? Do media houses have, like Indian Express, do you have any internal processes that actually holds you accountable that this number of people in your organization should be this or that? I'm just trying, I'm curious. I mean, I struggled when I came to Delhi University also. I hardly saw, the number of Muslims. I did my master's in English and there were hardly any people, and even from Assam also I was like one person from like the community, Muslim community. So it's just so difficult. How do we create that access, I think, rather than just saying that we're not there, but how do we do that? I think this is a very important question.
I want to
let them answer, then they'll come back to you. Could you please?
I want to respond.
We are here for technology. Why are we discussing all this politics?
I think, I mean, isn't that what we are consuming? I mean, isn't that actually the politics of it, what we are talking about? The marginalized voices, how digital platform is empowering those voices. But what are they saying? I think largely the part of the large part of the discussion was around digital. I think there is a large part of the audience that wants to know the issues on the ground. So we are here right now just respecting that.
Sir, there is no digital participation for us if we don't understand the politics from where we are coming from. It drives everything that we are speaking, including the digital work. But I wanted to respond to the young Yadav friend from Bihar. Pata nahi aap kaise ye sawal pooch sakte ho? Really, to be honest, how do you see change, my friend? If you are saying that Dalit activists are actually using digital media and other offline media to counter something that was happening in 60s and 70s, matlab, what have you seen as change in this country? Ravi has been constantly talking about so many deaths of people who are engaged in manual scavenging in the sewers of Delhi city. And then we are still talking about 60s or 70s, or we're talking about 2018 and 19. I'm saying that the National Crime Records Bureau, not my data, Government data, 6 Dalit women are being raped every single day, and that is a completely fudged figure. So we are still talking about something in 60s and 70s. आज हम डॉक्टर अंबेडकर के सॉन्ग पे अगर रिंगटोन है तो हमारा मर्डर कर दिया गया महाराष्ट्र में. आज भी आप जानते हो कि हम लोग का जो दूल्हा है वो what is that घोड़ी पे जाके he cannot enter the village. So we talk about 60s or 70s. Today also we know who are we falling in love and who are we trying to choose and talk about whether in digital, sir, in the digital space or an offline space. So it's not about 60s and 70s, my friend. This is what is the reality today. So we are not here to talk about some issue. It's really to understand the history, really understand ideological standpoint from what we are trying to say. And only that is what has informed our presence on digital media platforms. Again, I'm repeating, sir, for you, that the primary purpose why we are here is to talk about these issues, build campaigns for advocacy, visibility, and we need allies. It is not our job at all to break this caste system. So that's the only purpose why we are here, and we are making small dents in the much larger big system. That's what I want to end with. Thank you.
I'm afraid, I mean, this has been definitely a very interesting afternoon.
We'll talk after this, for sure, for sure. I will meet you, for sure.
Tea and coffee.
Definitely,
We
definitely.
can have this later.
Definitely, we'll do that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah. Our very accomplished speakers over here, panelists, I know it's been a great afternoon and there are more conversations that you'd like to take up. We can do that over a cup of tea outside after the session. For now, we'd like to close this. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you all for your patience and your interest. Thank you.